The study focused on how much alcohol was consumed over a given period, and there were surprising results.
We find that very small amounts of alcohol, say 1 or 2 drinks per day, consumed on 5 or 6 days per week, seems to be the area of most benefit.
The World Health Organisation project spanned 10 years, beginning in 1984. 11,000 heart attack victims in Newcastle were surveyed. Patients were interviewed while still in hospital. They were asked about drinking habits, symptoms and medical history. Researchers found consistent drinkers were less likely to suffer from a coronary because the effect alcohol has on blood.
Alcohol consumption seems to reduce the number of clots in the bloodstream, and therefore small amounts regularly give the most benefit.
However, researchers warn the benefits don't extend to binge drinking.
If you don't skip a day, you don't seem to have the benefits. So you should skip at least one day.
The results will be forwarded to the World Health Organisation in the next few weeks. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. It's been a roller coaster of emotions for vignerons this harvest. Great hopes for a bumper season were crushed at the end of January when heavy rain halted picking for 5 days. But last night, growers sipped the fruits of their labour while soaking up the words from our leader. Speaking at this year's Thanksgiving festival, Mr Howard praised Hunter vignerons for producing distinctive wines and penetrating overseas markets. Tourism continued to be the focus of local growers, a crucial element for the growth of the industry.
We're less than 2 hours from Sydney and 3 years from the Sydney Olympics. Our area attracts over 800,000 visitors per year and is now a leading local industry.
This year's vintage is already well on the way to the cellar, with preparations for bottling starting this month. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
Climb up and over as he clipped the Harris car. Wow, what a crash!
It was a fast and open game of hockey at the International Centre this afternoon. Norths had a 2-1 lead with 20 minutes left and kept up the attack with a series of short corners. Last-ditch defence from the Phantoms was doing its best to frustrate the Double Blues, but North's early lead was the difference. Tennis and finals day of the ITF World Veterans Championships at District Park. Only the best of the 400-strong field were left to fight out the 3-set deciders. A number of strong performances from the international contingent. Americans William Davis and Chuck DeVoe smashed their way to the 65 men's doubles title, while the Aussie sisters Len and Margaret Way kept the local flag flying. They beat Charlene Hilbrand and Suella Steele in 3 sets.
unfortunately we had a couple of disallowed tries, and we allowed Manly a pretty good start. So
Lakes were favoured to win this afternoon's battle at Townsend Oval, but the Seagulls again had to do without the services of suspended captain David Smith. Souths were taking full advantage until Ewan McGregor looked set to ruin the Lions' early work. His sprint caught the home side off guard, but not the referee. That try disallowed, there was nothing wrong with the visitors' next break, Matthew Smith backing himself for a 4-0 Lakes lead. Souths level, but both sides failed to get on a roll in the opening stages. Referee Ron Williams called up 7 penalties in the opening 15 minutes. The second term was all Lakes. They finished too strongly for a 10-point victory.
While festival organisers concede the government pullout was a setback, they remain optimistic a top-class event will be staged. Importantly, the Expo still has the support of the international horticultural body and the private sector.
The reports that we've had from Tracy's and from IMG is that the private sector is more committed to the project today than they've ever been. We've got a lot of sponsorship that's coming in. The private sector see that this event is good, not only for the Central Coast but for New South Wales and Australia.
The festival is set to inject $5.1 billion into the national economy and create 58,000 jobs, 8,000 of those on the Central Coast. It's expected to be 3 times the size of the Brisbane Expo, attracting visitors from across the world. Organisers are still planning a similar event to the Expo, even though it won't be endorsed by the BIE in Paris.
It's the same event, same place, same time, same location. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's full steam ahead.
A delegation from the Nursery Industry Association is now in Belgium firming up arrangements. Jenny Crouch, NBN News.
The trouble with all these reuse strategies, that they rely on community participation, community involvement, and by educating children at a young age, we hope to broaden the base of involvement.
"900 pairs of shiny shoes stood to attention as the RAF's second-in-command cast a sharp eye over troops for their annual inspection. Air Vice Marshal Peter Nicholson says the base has been maintained in a first-class condition despite tough financial constraints. He says the Defence Form program has been necessary, but concedes it's been an unsettling time for personnel.
It's freed resources to go into the combat end. So we were well down this route, and change is difficult for any organisation.
As part of the reform, flight equipment will be upgraded at the base over the next 5 years.
We're introducing the Hawk to replace the Mackie, and we're looking to an upgrade program of one sort or another for the Hornet, which has now been in service, although it doesn't seem that long, for 10 years.
He says as purse strings continue to tighten, the RAF will have to find ways to stay efficient without losing effectiveness. 11 airmen were then awarded medals by the Air Vice Marshal to recognise more than 15 years of service with the force. Simone Cobb, NBN News. It was a celebration for Saltash residents today, a dangerous section of the Nelson Bay Road eliminated by new works. Serious crashes on the notorious old road have killed 15 people in just 5 years.
It was very important that we had a lot of noise from the traffic and just the physical aspect of the traffic being so close to the school turning, and it's just made it a lot safer for the children and also crossing Nelson Bay Road now.
The $3 million diversion has finally become a reality after 8 years of lobbying by concerned parents. The old road swept past the local primary school just metres from the gate.
The school, safety and the overall doing up of Nelson Bay Road, this is just another part. You add it all together and in time Nelson Bay Road will be a road that we all feel proud of.
The 8-month project involved the construction of almost 2 kilometres of 4-lane divided roadway, a roundabout and bus turning bay. Local MP Bob Martin says it's just the beginning of upgrades to the entire Nelson Bay Road. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
The group of 16 has a mixed background. Many are school and university lecturers, while others are administrators and private school owners. They're here to absorb Australia's teaching methods and strategies and to gain a clearer picture of our culture. During their stay, the teachers are being billeted by local families. The group says it's envious of Australia's high school system, particularly the government funding and the small class sizes.
They're very impressed about how student education orientated our teachers are, and the fact that in Thailand there are 40 students as a rule, not in private schools but in the government schools there are 40 students per class.
The Thai teachers have visited a range of schools, universities and TAFE facilities over the past week. Today they were hosted by students at Meriwether High. The school says the students have also benefited from the experience.
For the students themselves, just seeing these people from other countries about whom they've only just heard before or seen them in textbooks, and to be able to speak to them and question them and learn more about their countries.
The exchange program is also open to students, with 500 Australian teenagers taking part every year. Jenny Crouch, NBN News.
There was a tense atmosphere at the West Wallsend Workers Club last night as more than 130 angry car owners attempted to work through their problem. Frustrated at having their cars forced off the road by contaminated fuel, car owners accused the insurance assessors, Freeman's Australia, of taking shortcuts.
Everybody was extremely upset. A lot of people want assurance that their vehicle is going to run as efficiently as it did before, and they cannot guarantee that.
2 weeks ago, 300 engines seized after drivers filled their tanks with fuel accidentally contaminated by organic acid ester. The insurers told car owners to have their engines flushed, but many owners claim that's insufficient, demanding their engines be taken apart and thoroughly cleaned. According to them, however, Freeman's won't cover the costs of the extra work.
I think it's wrong. I think it is entirely wrong. It is unfair. We're not the people that caused this. We're the victims.
Freeman says it has acted upon advice from mechanics that for most vehicles it is not necessary to strip an engine to sufficiently clean it. But the company says it will pay up if owners continue to have problems after flushing their engines. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Yesterday he attacked selectors, today referees and their boss Mick Stone.
Honestly, there's that much going off at the moment that just isn't right. I mean, he's got a real headache. No wonder he's not rung me back for a couple of days, Mick Stone. He's probably inundated with meetings and complaints.
Malcolm Reilly has joined the call for the introduction of video replays as an aid for referees. A number of calls went against his side on the weekend. The man in the middle, Paul Simpkins.
I think the referee really was inexperienced for the standard of the game that he was expected to control.
The Knights have also joined the controversy about that new throwing rule. After his one-match suspension, they're obviously not too disappointed that Adam Muir won't be playing for country on Friday, but they do think the law needs clarification.
That tackle which has been made, it's so close to being a perfect tackle that it's unreal.
I think it's the best style of tackle you can do, so it's pretty ordinary, I think.
Reilly has named all 5 country origin stars in the team to host Illawarra on Sunday. They'll be checked for fitness after Friday's match. Despite missing out on yesterday's training, Leo Deniver has also been named in the team, but he is in doubt.
And Leo Deniver is making a trip to Sydney tomorrow to see Neil Alpin and have ligament damage examined under anaesthetic for stress.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
It hasn't been a dream start to country's origin preparation. There have been numerous enforced changes to the side. Coach Tom Rodonicus says despite the unsettled lineup, country will be at full strength by Friday.
It sort of rolls me up a bit. Do they rate us a chin? And what are we doing here? Like, we might as well stay back in Sydney and have a drink, you know. No, I rate ourselves a damn good chance. I've got a good side.
Joining the side for training today was Illawarra Steelers centre Paul Mcgregor, his campaign hampered by a knee injury. Mcgregor says despite the new faces in the side, country's morale is high.
Tommy, brings out the best of the boys. He had a chat to us yesterday and we had a bit of team bonding last night. We had, a couple of drinks and stuff and, we're really just looking forward to getting out there and playing.
Rodonicus is still to announce a starting lineup. It's likely skipper Paul Harrigan will be rotated with Manly forward David Gillespie. The ever-colourful Rodonicus has no doubts as to country's chances.
Well, mate, I reckon we're not that far behind them anyway, but if they would call us underdogs or underdogs, we're going to be pretty fired up, I can give you the message.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Sunrise and the Taronga appears on the horizon like a monolith carving through the waters. With a cargo capacity of more than 47,000 tonnes, the ship is the largest of its kind in the world. Entering Newcastle Harbour today, the 10-storey high cargo ship was on eye level with the city's tallest buildings. Besides its imposing presence, the beauty of the multi-purpose ro-ro vessel is that it can transport almost anything over water.
And with the ramp we have the flexibility. Many awkward machines and large heavy objects can be carried over the ramp, just literally driven on and off, which is a minimum of handling, ensures the safest carriage for the cargo.
Docked and ready to shift cargo, the massive ramp came down with the grace of a butterfly unfolding its wings. In the midst of its maiden voyage, the Norwegian-owned vessel was delivered from the dockyard just 4 months ago. Impressed with the convenience of Newcastle's harbour, the Wilhelms and Lyons ship will become a frequent visitor to the city.
The company is very committed to Newcastle and supporting the development and the growth here, and we see that as being a very important port on our schedule.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Blackrock follows the fortunes of 17-year-old Jared, a witness to the brutal rape and murder of a 15-year-old schoolgirl. The film parallels the 1989 murder of Newcastle schoolgirl Lee.
This film is not about the Lee story. It's kind of trying to make sense of that tragedy.
Blackrock had its Australian premiere in Newcastle last night. The Newcastle Legal Centre, which last year successfully lobbied to have the Lee case reopened after 7 years, believes the film could hamper investigations.
It distorts, and possibly distorts in the minds of people here in Newcastle or potential witnesses what actually happened.
Whether we should have made it or shouldn't have made it, I believe the film has a very positive effect, and I would hope that the film being widely screened throughout Australia may stop another Lee tragedy occurring.
Blackrock was filmed in and around Newcastle last year. One person who definitely won't be going to see the movie is Lee's mother, Robin Lee.
She wonders how many times her poor little daughter has to be raped and defiled.
Cast members say moviegoers should make their own judgments.
It is, to try and bring to our awareness these things so we can confront them and talk about them and make sure they don't happen again.
Reactions from those at the premiere were mixed. Blackrock has already earned good reviews at the prestigious Sundance Film Festival in the United States, the launching pad for Shine. The film is now angling for a US cinema release. It opens nationally on Thursday. Representatives from 3 levels of government gathered not long after the announcement to condemn BHP, describing the company as greedy, gutless and ungrateful.
They're gutless and they can't cut it with the Asian competition. They're not prepared to get into new technology, and they're certainly ungrateful in the way that they've dealt with this community.
Alan Morris, a member of the Federal Parliamentary Committee examining steelmaking in Australia, says the Newcastle closure is in no way the failure of workers who've met every target set by the company during its restructuring.
This is a failure of BHP management. Make no mistake.
Aside from the 2,500 jobs to go at the plant, it's predicted up to another 7,000 workers in related industries will also be affected. There are now demands the company produce the evidence that proves steelmaking in Newcastle is no longer viable.
We want to see their financial cash flows, we want to see the McMaster report, we want to have an independent analysis of their cash flows and the evidence that they're putting forward to say that steel's not profitable in Newcastle.
Unions are planning a mass meeting for Friday morning. Meanwhile, the Hunter Valley Research Foundation predicts the city will bounce back.
There was a larger reduction in the
the workforce of BHP early in the 1980s, and in the short to medium term the economy recovered quite quickly, and I see even more reason why that would be the case at the present moment, because our economy is so strong.
The question now being asked is, what will BHP do with the site? Will it remediate the land, or would it be prepared to sell the site to other steelmaking operations looking at setting up on the East Coast? It's understood 2 other companies are currently looking at setting up steelmaking plants somewhere on the east coast of Australia. Phil Hind, NBN News.
It was sweet news for Leo Deniver. Virtually unknown at the start of the season, the young halfback has made such an impression with Newcastle, he's been included in Queensland's squad of 22. Leo is one of 8 new faces. One of the veterans, although he didn't know it, is Robbie O'Davis.
I just assumed it was about 3 or 4 weeks away, the selections. I didn't know Queensland picked the squad, so I'm very happy, very happy. Leo? Leo, cool, yep, happy, more than happy now.
The selection is due reward for the 2 Knights. Both have been big helpers in Newcastle's rise up the ladder. It will hopefully continue this weekend when the club plays Gold Coast. Andrew Johns was tested for fitness today by the club's medical staff. He won't be there for the Knights' charge north.
I've been there for 9-10 weeks, so another week won't hurt me.
Injury has got the better of Adam Mcgregor for Saturday's game. He's out while Paul Harrigan will start from the bench.
I would only play him for a small period.
Tony Butterfield captains the side, which travels there and back on match day.
We've recorded some good results up there this year, and we won't be taking them lightly.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
The Australian Chicken Growers Council meet in Gosford today, discussing its latest plan to stop the importation of cooked chicken meat. It fears imported chicken will bring Newcastle disease, which will threaten our environment, our health and the local economy.
It would be a disease which we've never seen before and would have devastating effects on our native wildlife and on the chickens. And if we were to contract that disease, I think it would probably wipe our industry out.
Growers say the industry injects $1.75 billion into the economy every year and provides thousands of jobs. They say imported chicken will devastate the industry, in particular the Central Coast and the Hunter, a region already reeling from yesterday's BHP decision.
Places like the Central Coast and the Hunter just can't afford to have another job loss like this. And that's exactly what it would be. Between the Hunter and Gosford, we're looking at 3,000 jobs.
As part of the campaign, a public meeting will be held at the Central Coast Leagues Club on May 12. It's set to attract growers, union reps and local politicians. Jenny Crouch, NBN News.
The skills of 100 aspiring basketball stars were on show for the selectors in Newcastle today as school districts fought for the state crown. The 3-day event pits the best players from both public and Catholic schools against each other in a sport that has become extremely competitive.
This is probably one sport where the country teams are able to hold their own against the city and even dominate the city teams.
Day 2 of the championship saw the Hunter dismissed after round 3, while both the North Coast and North West districts were knocked out in the quarter-finals. Looking for signs of star potential, 4 selectors have been keeping a sharp eye on the keen young players.
Skills, height, ability to play the game, because they're going to represent the state at a national level. So they're looking for those girls who obviously are going to have the talent to go on to that next step.
10 players chosen to compete at the Nationals in Adelaide next September will be announced tomorrow following the finals. Simone Cobb, NBN News. Another call-out The adrenaline pumps and the engine roars. The Newcastle Fire is heading for a familiar destination, but it's not the home of a mad pyromaniac. It's Smith Park in Hamilton North. They're joined by brigades from around the city. One man sits out waiting for the unexpected, while the rest enjoy a game of touch football. With station pride on the line, the heat's on. The friendly competition an ideal way the men can keep fit for fighting fires.
It's a physically demanding job. The heat of the moment, the hot fire, the physical exhaustion.
Under their own chief, the Newcastle Knights often share the oval with the Fireys.
Mate, they're entertainment every week. I love just sitting here watching them before training. I haven't seen them score a try in weeks. Actually, they just went over the first one, so I'm wrapped.
We don't need a fullback in touch football because the defence of the forwards is too good.
They may be opposites as to the standard of play, but there's one thing that's assured: if there's ever a fire around Hamilton North, the fit Fireys will be quick to respond. With a palatial set and lavish costumes, the most famous ballet production of all time has been brought to life in Newcastle. Rehearsing Swan Lake at the Civic Theatre today, the Australian Ballet is performing here for the first time since 1989.
It's looking most exciting, yes. It's the first time the company's been back here since 1989, and it's fabulous to bring this sort of ultimate classic, the cornerstone of our repertoire, back here.
Helping to celebrate the bicentenary, the Romantic Ballet was chosen for its timeless appeal to audiences of all ages.
I think it's the epitome of all classics, really, that you can think of. It's the idea of the fantasy of human taking on a bird form that appeals to everybody.
Starring Lisa Bolte as the Black Swan and Stephen Heathcott as the Prince, the production also features 12 aspiring local dancers. Opening tomorrow night, the company will present 4 performances. Simone Cobb, NBN News.